Hey everyone, welcome back to the deep dive. Today we're going to be taking a look at some recent reports from Nestlé
Okay.
that are all about emerging food and beverage trends.
Sounds interesting.
Yeah, they really caught my eye. I thought they were really fascinating, and they're especially focused on coffee, wellness, and convenience.
Uh-huh.
And I know with your interest in consumer behavior and the future of food and all that, I thought
Yeah,
these would be some really cool insights to dig into.
definitely.
Yeah, so we're talking stats on how people are getting creative with their coffee at home,
Oh, cool.
how they're incorporating wellness into their routine, and like what convenience even means anymore in the kitchen.
Yeah, it's changing so much.
Totally. And I think you'll be pretty surprised by some of this stuff.
Well, let's dive in then.
Okay, so let's start with coffee. Nestle's reports are kind of painting this picture of coffee going from like a basic morning thing to
Right.
like a whole personalized experience.
Mhm.
So what's the story there? Like what's going on?
Well, 61% of consumers are brewing coffee at home.
Yeah, to save money. Right.
Exactly. But they're not just like settling for bad coffee.
Right.
They want those quality beans, experimenting with different brewing methods.
Wow. So it's not just about like a cheap caffeine fix.
Right, not at all.
They actually want to like control the whole experience.
Yeah, it's about the whole process.
That makes sense.
From like picking the beans to actually making that perfect cup.
Yeah, and that actually reminds me of that stat about 51% of coffee drinkers either using or wanting to use syrups and additives.
Interesting.
Like I've even noticed myself, like in my own kitchen, grabbing those syrups more often.
Yeah.
So are we all becoming like at-home baristas, or is this just like clever marketing?
Probably a little of both.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Brands are definitely taking advantage of this trend by offering like tons of flavors and additives,
Right.
but I also think it shows that people actually want to customize and express themselves through their coffee.
So like coffee's become this blank canvas. Yeah, you're the artist, and the syrups, the beans, the brewing methods, those are your paints.
I love that analogy.
So do you see yourself as part of this new generation of coffee enthusiasts?
Oh, totally. And it's not even just younger generations. The reports show that like outside of baby boomers, who maybe are a little more set in their ways, about a third of coffee drinkers consider themselves coffee enthusiasts.
So it's like a real cultural shift.
Definitely, coffee's not just a drink anymore.
Yeah, it's a hobby, an art
A
form.
way to connect with others.
I've definitely noticed that shift too. Like people are comparing their favorite roasts, sharing brewing tips,
Oh, yeah.
even hosting coffee tasting parties. Have you seen that?
All the time.
Mm.
And it's not even just about the coffee itself.
Right.
It's the whole experience. People finding these cool coffee shops, going to workshops, even traveling to experience coffee cultures.
It's wild how something as simple as coffee can be so inspiring and creative.
I know, right?
But you know that phrase, accessible experimentation, that really caught my eye? Like brands are making it so easy to try all these new flavors. You don't have to be a barista or spend a ton of money.
Exactly. Just imagine like a cold brew with lavender and honey, or latte with cardamom and rose water.
Wow, those are fancy.
I know, right? And they're bringing those fancy coffee shop vibes right into your kitchen.
Yeah. Have you seen any of those kind of unique flavors in your local stores?
Yeah.
It's everywhere.
It's crazy.
I know. You know, I was at the grocery store just the other day,
Oh, yeah.
and I saw this coffee blend with turmeric and ginger.
Hmm.
I was really intrigued, but I haven't tried it yet.
What about you? Have you ventured into any like uncharted coffee territory?
You know, I actually tried mushroom coffee recently.
Really?
Yeah.
What?
I know it sounds weird,
It does sound a little strange.
but it was actually really good.
Wow.
Yeah, it had this really rich, earthy flavor,
Ah.
and it's supposed to be super healthy.
Mushroom coffee.
I know.
Okay, I need to hear more about this.
We should do a whole episode on that. But it seems like this whole experimenting with coffee flavors is also connected to this bigger trend.
Oh,
This
absolutely.
rise of wellness.
Definitely. And that's where things get really interesting.
So Nestle's report says 82% of U.S. consumers now prioritize wellness.
Wow, that's a lot.
I know, but it's not just about physical health anymore. It's
Yeah.
like anything that makes you feel good.
Yeah, mentally, emotionally, even spiritually.
And Gen Z especially, they have a much broader definition of wellness than like previous generations.
I do so.
And that brings us to functional foods,
Yes.
which Nestle highlights a lot in the report.
That's a big one.
Yeah, so these are foods and drinks that are designed to offer like extra health benefits, not just basic nutrition.
Right, like coffee infused with adaptogens,
Okay.
which are herbs and mushrooms that can help your body deal with stress.
So adaptogens, what are those exactly?
Yeah, so adaptogens are these natural substances that can help your body kind of adapt to stress.
Okay.
and restore balance. They're found in plants and mushrooms, and some people think they help with anxiety, fatigue, even sleep.
Interesting. So they're adding those to coffee now.
Yeah. Or you see coffee with added probiotics for gut health,
Probiotics, right?
or even collagen for like beauty benefits.
Hold on. Adaptogens, probiotics, collagen. For someone who's just starting to learn about all this, it's a lot.
Yeah, it's a whole new world.
So break it down for me. Like, what are probiotics?
So probiotics are these beneficial bacteria
Okay.
that are good for your gut health.
Got it.
You know, you find them in fermented foods like yogurt or kimchi,
Right.
but now they're adding them to coffee and kombucha and all sorts of things.
Oh, wow.
And then collagen, that's a protein that's naturally in our bodies, but we lose it as we get older.
Oh, that's why everyone's talking about it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And people think that if you add collagen back in,
Okay.
it can help your skin, your joints, even your gut.
So it's like people are turning their morning coffee into a mini wellness routine.
Yeah, exactly. It's not just about the caffeine anymore.
Right. It's about adding in something extra to help them feel good.
Yeah, and this trend goes way beyond coffee, too.
Oh, really?
Yeah, we're seeing all kinds of drinks that are meant to relieve stress, help you sleep better, or even improve focus.
Wow. Like what?
Like think herbal teas with chamomile or lavender,
Okay.
or sparkling water with adaptogens and nootropics.
Nootropics. What are those?
Oh, those are things that are supposed to improve your brain function.
Really?
Yeah, like L-theanine, which is in green tea, and lion's mane mushroom. That's been studied for memory and focus.
Wow.
You see them in drinks and snacks, even gummies.
So the beverage aisle is like a wellness hub now.
Basically.
But is it all just hype? Like, is the beverage aisle really a good source of wellness?
Yeah, it's a good question.
Right.
And it's one we should think critically about.
Definitely.
It's important to be smart about what brands are saying.
Right.
Do your own research. Not all functional foods and drinks are the same.
Right. Some are better than others.
Exactly.
So it's about being an informed consumer.
Yeah, don't just follow the latest trends blindly.
Be critical.
But, you know, the fact that so many brands are using these ingredients shows that people want easy ways to be healthy.
Yeah, they want that convenience.
Definitely. And speaking of convenience.
Yeah, that's the other big trend that Nestlé highlighted in their report.
Used one.
Yeah, busy lifestyles and just like the economy in general. It seems like everyone wants food that's convenient and flavorful.
Oh, yeah. And what's interesting is that people aren't willing to sacrifice quality for convenience.
That's a good
You
point.
still want food that tastes good,
Right.
makes them feel good,
Makes sense.
but they want it to be easy,
Yeah.
accessible.
And, you know, the report said that 68% of consumers are choosing supermarket meals over going out to eat.
Wow.
I know, I was surprised by that.
That's a big number.
But it makes sense, though, right?
Yeah, totally.
Right.
Everyone's trying to save money.
Exactly. And that reminds me of the stat about 90% of consumers relying on pre-made sauces and marinades
It's all about making cooking easier.
without losing the flavor.
Exactly.
So it's not just ready-to-eat meals. It's about having those building blocks to make quick meals at home.
Yep. Think pre-chopped veggies, pre-marinated proteins, or even those meal kits.
Yeah, where everything's ready to go.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's all about making cooking less stressful and more fun.
Especially for people who don't have a lot of time.
For sure.
So what do you think is the biggest takeaway from all of this?
Good question.
What stands out to you the most?
I think what's most interesting is this idea that convenience and customization can actually go together.
That is fascinating.
It's a big change from this old idea that convenient food has to be boring.
Right, like bland or generic.
Exactly.
But now brands are finding ways to make things convenient and flavorful.
And high quality.
Right, and you can still personalize it.
Yeah, it's a really cool evolution.
I'm curious to hear your thoughts on how all of this is going to play out in the future.
Me too. What do you think is going to happen?
Well, that's a big question, and I think it deserves its own conversation.
Okay, I like that idea.
So listeners, be sure to join us for part 2 of this deep dive,
I'm looking forward to it.
where we'll put on our futurist hats and see what's next for coffee, wellness, and convenience in the world of food and beverages.
This is going to be fun.
I think so.
Ah,
All right, so we're back and ready to talk about the future.
the future of food.
Yeah, exactly. Last time we were looking at all those trends.
Right.
How coffee's getting more personalized and wellness is becoming a bigger focus.
Definitely.
And how our whole idea of convenience is changing.
It's like a whole new world.
Totally. So now it's time to put on our futurist hats.
I like it.
Yeah. What do you think is next for food culture?
Okay, well, I think these trends are only going to get bigger,
Okay.
but they're going to get more innovative too.
More innovative.
Yeah.
Like how?
Okay, so let's start with coffee.
All right.
I imagine an AI coffee machine.
An AI coffee machine. What would that even do?
It would, like, learn what you like
Okay.
and make your perfect cup every time.
Wow.
Yeah, and it could even adjust based on your mood.
No way.
Yeah, or the weather.
So it's like personalized coffee,
Exactly.
but taken to a whole other level.
To the extreme.
Like having a personal barista.
Right there in your kitchen.
But how realistic is that?
I mean, the technology's basically already here.
Really?
We have smart appliances now that can connect to the internet
Right.
and learn from our habits.
So it's not that crazy to think they could do that with coffee.
Not at all. Plus, we already see this level of personalization in other industries.
True, like fashion.
Yeah, and entertainment.
Like Netflix always knows what movies I want to watch.
Exactly.
Okay, so what about functional coffee? Is that going to stick around?
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
I think we're going to see even more innovation in that area.
Okay, like what?
So we talked about coffee with adaptogens,
Right.
probiotics,
Mm-hmm.
collagen. But imagine coffee with nootropics to help you focus,
Okay.
or CBD for relaxation,
Interesting.
or even a personalized blend of nutrients.
Wait, hold on. A personalized blend?
Yeah.
Like based on my DNA or something?
Exactly.
That sounds so futuristic.
I know, right?
Is that even possible?
Well, personalized nutrition is a growing field.
I guess so.
We already have companies offering DNA testing.
Right. To tell you what to eat.
Exactly. So why not apply that to coffee?
So my morning coffee could be like a custom health drink.
Pretty much.
I kind of like that idea.
Yeah.
You know, we talked about sustainability last time
Hmm.
and ethical sourcing.
Yeah.
Do you think that's going to be a big deal in the future?
Oh, absolutely. I think it's only going to become more important.
Okay.
Consumers want to know where their food comes from.
Yeah, they want transparency.
Exactly.
They want to know how it's produced.
Right. And they're willing to pay more for products that align with their values.
That makes sense.
So ethically sourced beans, fair trade practices,
And eco-friendly packaging.
all of that's going to be key for coffee brands that want to be successful.
Right, they have to keep up with what consumers want.
Exactly. And this goes for the whole food industry, not just coffee.
So it's like a big shift.
It is.
Okay, so we talked about the future of coffee.
Uh-huh.
What about the rest of the food world?
Yeah, what about it?
Like, what are your predictions for convenience and wellness in the kitchen?
Well, I think technology is going to play a huge role.
Okay.
Think about smart refrigerators.
Okay.
They can track your groceries
Wow.
and suggest recipes based on what you have.
So no more staring into the fridge wondering what to make for dinner.
Exactly.
Amazing.
And ovens that can adjust the cooking time and temperature.
So you never burn anything. That's like my dream kitchen.
It's the future.
But it's not just about convenience.
No.
It's about making healthier choices easier.
Exactly. Technology can be a tool for wellness.
I like that.
Think about a digital platform
Okay.
that looks at your health data,
Huh? Mhm.
tracks your activity,
Yeah.
and then suggests personalized meal plans and recipes.
Wow. So it's like having a personal nutritionist and a chef all in one. That's pretty cool, but what about people who don't have access to all this fancy technology?
That's a good point.
Won't it just make things even more unequal when it comes to eating healthy?
It's a valid concern.
Yeah.
We have to make sure these innovations don't just benefit the people who can afford them.
So how do we do that?
Well, it's a big question, but I think it starts with education.
Okay.
Making sure everyone has information about healthy eating and cooking.
Right, even if they don't have the latest gadgets.
Exactly. And we need to find ways to make healthy food affordable for everyone.
That's a big one.
It is.
Okay, so there are some potential downsides,
Yeah.
but overall, it seems like there's a lot to be excited about.
Definitely a lot of potential.
Is there anything you're particularly excited about?
You know what really stands out to me is how we usually think about food and technology as separate things.
Yeah, that's true.
But what if the future of food is about combining them?
Okay, I like where this is going.
Like 3D printed meals.
Whoa, wait, 3D printed meals?
Yeah.
What?
I know it sounds crazy,
It does.
but also kind of cool.
How would that even work?
Well, technology is still being developed.
Okay,
But basically, you'd have a 3D printer that uses edible ingredients
okay.
to create custom meals.
And you can like personalize it based on your needs.
Yeah, exactly.
That's insane.
I know, right?
But would it even taste good?
Well, that's the thing. They're still working on that part.
Right.
But the potential is there.
So you could have a 3D printer that makes you a healthy pizza
Potentially, yeah.
with extra cheese.
And vegetables.
Okay, I'm sold. Sign me up.
But it's not just about pizza.
Okay.
Imagine being able to print a perfectly portioned meal
Wow.
with the exact amount of protein, carbs, and fats that you need.
That's amazing.
Or recreate the flavors and textures of your favorite foods.
even if they're not in season.
Exactly.
That opens up so many possibilities,
It really does.
especially for people with a dietary restriction.
Oh, yeah, or people who want to try different cuisines.
Yeah.
The possibilities are endless.
But what about the environmental impact?
Right.
Is 3D printed food sustainable?
It has the potential to be.
Okay.
Imagine using plant-based proteins,
Yeah.
locally sourced ingredients,
Yeah.
to create meals that are good for you and good for the planet.
So you're reducing our reliance on animal agriculture
Exactly.
and minimizing food waste.
It's a win-win.
So we're talking cutting-edge technology combined with sustainability.
And personalized well-being.
It's a pretty compelling vision.
I think so. It's definitely worth exploring.
Definitely. And I'm curious to hear what innovations or changes you're most excited about.
Yeah, what about you?
Okay, so I have a prediction.
Okay.
And it might sound a little idealistic.
Let's hear it.
But I think all of these trends,
Yeah.
they could actually change our relationship with food,
I think so, too.
like for the better.
In a positive way.
Exactly. Right now, we're so obsessed with fad diets, restrictive eating,
Right.
this idea of the perfect body.
It's exhausting.
It really is. But what if all these advancements could help us let go of those rules?
Yeah, but what?
What if we could focus on nourishing our bodies instead,
I love that.
with food that tastes good?
It makes us feel good.
Exactly, and that aligns with our values.
That's a great point.
What do you think?
I think that's a beautiful aspiration.
Yeah.
And I really believe it's possible.
So how do we get there?
How do we make that shift?
From restriction to nourishment.
Well, that's a big question.
It is.
But I think it starts with a change in our mindset.
Okay.
We need to move away from this diet mentality
Right.
and embrace a more intuitive approach to food.
So instead of focusing on what we shouldn't eat,
We focus on what makes us feel good.
yeah, what truly nourishes us.
Exactly.
This is making me think about how you always talk about wellness becoming more democratized.
Yeah.
Like, how does that fit into all of this?
Well, for so long, healthy eating has felt exclusive.
Right.
Like you need expensive ingredients.
Yeah.
Complicated recipes.
And there's so much pressure.
and guilt.
It's exhausting.
It really is. But what's exciting about these new trends
Yeah.
is that they offer a different way.
Okay.
Imagine a world where we don't focus on what we shouldn't eat,
Right.
but instead we focus on what nourishes us,
What makes us feel good?
both physically and emotionally.
That's a good point.
It's about empowering people
Okay.
to be their own health advocates,
I like that.
to make choices that are right for them.
And to realize that wellness isn't one size fits all.
It's a journey
It is.
of self-discovery and experimentation.
And that reminds me of accessible experimentation,
Yeah.
which we were talking about earlier.
It's not just about coffee flavors.
Right. It's about
Right.
being open to trying new things.
With food and with wellness.
And not being afraid to experiment.
Exactly.
So thinking about your own journey,
Yeah.
was there like an aha moment for you? Something that helped you shift away from that diet mentality?
You know, for me, it was realizing that food wasn't the enemy.
Okay.
It was actually something that could help me.
To be healthier.
Exactly.
So you started paying more attention to how different foods made you feel.
Yeah. And I started experimenting with different ways of eating.
That worked for you,
That made me feel good.
both physically and mentally.
Exactly.
And it's so interesting because that highlights how this is about more than just what we eat.
It's a bigger picture.
Yeah, it's about self-awareness,
Mindfulness.
compassion.
It's all connected.
Okay, so we've been talking about this vision of the future, where we all have a good relationship with food and our bodies.
It's a nice thought.
It is, but let's be real.
Okay.
We live in a world where processed food is everywhere,
And it's cheap.
and we're constantly being told we're not good enough.
That's tough.
It really is.
Yeah.
So how do we make this vision a reality?
How do we bridge that gap?
Yeah, how do we actually get there?
I think it's a combination of things.
Okay.
Individual changes
Okay.
and collective action.
Like what kind of individual changes?
Well, we can start by paying attention to our own habits,
Right.
trying new foods,
Uh-huh.
and finding ways to eat more whole, unprocessed foods.
Okay. And what about collective action?
We can support policies that make healthy food more accessible.
Okay.
Educate ourselves and our kids about nutrition
Right.
and challenge those unrealistic beauty
And
standards.
are everywhere.
Exactly.
So it's about creating a culture
Yeah,
that values health and well-being.
for everyone.
Yeah.
And realizing that food is more than just fuel,
It's about pleasure,
connection
nourishment.
for our bodies and our souls.
That's beautiful.
It is.
This whole conversation has really got me thinking
Good.
about my own relationship with food.
Me too.
And I hope it's doing the same for our listeners.
I hope so.
So as we wrap up this part of the deep dive,
Okay.
I want to leave everyone with a question.
What's that?
What's one small step you can take today to have a better relationship with food?
A more joyful and nourishing relationship.
Exactly.
I like
It
that.
could be trying a new recipe,
Yeah.
savoring your meals without distractions.
Or just being grateful for the food you have.
I love that these are great ideas.
Small changes can make a big difference.
Exactly. And remember,
That's that.
it's not about being perfect.
It's about progress.
Beautifully said. And on that note, we've reached the end of this part of our deep dive.
It's been fun.
I know time flies when you're talking about the future of food,
It really does.
but don't worry, there's more to come.
We're not done yet.
So be sure to join us for the final part of this deep dive,
Looking forward to it.
where we'll delve even deeper into this vision of a future where food and wellness are in harmony.
Sounds good to me.
Welcome back to the deep dive. So we've been talking about all these cool trends in food and beverages,
Yeah, personalized coffee, the focus on wellness.
and how convenience is being redefined.
It's a lot to think about.
It is. And last time we even got a little futuristic.
AI coffee machines, 3D printed meals.
The whole 9 yards. But for this last part,
Yeah.
I want to get kind of philosophical.
Okay, I like it.
You know, we were talking about how all these innovations could actually help us heal our relationship with food.
Yeah, like moving away from all those restrictive diets.
Exactly. And embracing a more intuitive and personalized approach.
Right. Finding what works for you.
So do you really think that's possible? Like, can we actually change our relationship with food on such a large scale?
I do think it's possible, but it's going to take time.
Right.
It's not going to happen overnight.
Yeah, it's a big shift.
It is. We need a combination of things.
Okay, like what?
Technological advancements, for sure,
Okay.
but also cultural changes
Mm,
and people being willing to challenge the way things are.
like to really think differently about food.
Exactly. And remember how we talked about wellness becoming more democratized?
Yeah, like making it accessible to everyone.
Exactly. I think that's a huge part of this.
Because for so long, healthy eating has felt so exclusive.
It has.
Like you need expensive ingredients.
Yeah, and you have to follow all these complicated recipes.
And there's so much pressure.
so much guilt.
It's exhausting.
It really is. And I think that's what's so cool about these trends.
Yeah.
They offer a different path.
Okay, I like that.
Imagine a world where we're not constantly thinking about what we shouldn't eat,
Right?
but instead we're focused on what truly nourishes us.
Food that makes us feel good.
Yes.
Yeah.
Physically and emotionally.
Okay, so I love that idea.
Yeah.
But how do we actually get there?
How do we make that shift?
From restriction to nourishment.
Well, I think technology can help,
Okay.
not just with creating healthier foods,
Right.
but with giving us personalized information.
Okay.
Like imagine an app
Okay.
that tracks not just your calories,
Mm-hmm.
but also how different foods make you feel.
Ooh, that's interesting.
Your energy levels, your digestion,
That would be amazing because right now it's all about weight loss. Yeah.
or reaching some ideal
Which is so arbitrary.
is.
But what if we could use technology to really understand our own bodies?
Exactly. It's about empowering people
To make choices that are right for them.
and realizing that wellness isn't one size fits all.
It's personal
It's a journey,
and it's about experimenting.
which brings us back to accessible experimentation.
Right. It's not just about trying funky coffee flavors.
It's about being curious about food,
Yeah, and open to new things.
trying different approaches to wellness
Without judgment.
without fear.
So thinking about your own journey with food,
Yeah.
was there a moment for you, like an aha moment?
That helped you shift away from that diet mentality.
Yeah.
You know, for me, it was realizing that food wasn't the enemy.
Yeah, okay.
It was actually a tool I could use to feel better.
So you started paying more attention to how different foods made you feel.
Yeah, I was like, okay, how does this make my body feel
Right, and you started experimenting.
with different ways of eating?
That felt right for you.
Exactly. And it's funny because it shows how this is about more than just what we eat.
It's deeper than that.
It's about self-awareness,
Mindfulness.
compassion for yourself.
It's all connected.
It really is.
So we've been painting this picture of the future
Where we're all in harmony with food.
and with our bodies.
It's a nice thought.
It is, but let's be real for a second.
Okay.
We live in a world where processed food is everywhere.
It's cheap and easy.
And the messaging is all about how we're not good enough.
It's a tough environment.
It really is. So how do we make this vision a reality?
How do we actually get there?
Yeah, it seems like a big gap to bridge.
It is, but I think it starts with small changes,
Okay.
both individually and as a society.
So like what can we do individually?
We could start by paying attention to our own habits
Okay.
trying new foods,
Yeah.
and finding ways to eat more whole, unprocessed foods.
And what about on a larger scale?
We can support policies that make healthy food more accessible,
Okay.
educate ourselves and our kids about nutrition,
Right.
and challenge those unrealistic beauty standards.
That are everywhere.
Exactly.
So it's about creating a culture
That values health and well-being,
for everyone.
and realizing that food is more than just fuel.
Yeah.
It's about pleasure,
Thank
nourishment for our
It's-
bodies and our souls.
This whole conversation has been so inspiring.
It has.
It's really got me thinking about my own relationship with food.
Me too.
And I hope it's doing the same for our listeners.
I hope so too.
So as we wrap up this deep dive,
Yeah.
I want to leave everyone with a question.
Okay. I'm listening.
What's one small step you can take today to have a more joyful and nourishing relationship with food?
It could be anything.
Trying a new recipe,
Savoring your meals.
being grateful for the food you have.
Those are all great ideas.
And remember, it's not about being perfect.
It's about progress.
That's a great way to put it. Well, thank you so much for joining me for this deep dive.
It's been a pleasure.
And to all our listeners, thanks for tuning in.
Until next time.
Happy eating, everyone.